Welcome back. Just breezing through this first hour. Lots to talk about today. I hope you had a great weekend. Coming into the hour here, Dow up 250, Bitcoin up 250 as well at 11.9. Could break into those 12s there. Overstock down $3. We'll keep our eye on all of those. But in my view, both Bitcoin and Overstock, tremendous buying opportunity. The populace of America continues to be irritated, agitated, and outraged that major sports organizations continue to pick up this Black Lives Matter theme, and the NBA's got it on their courts. People can put it on their jerseys. The MLB, they're all kneeling and wearing Black Lives Matter shirts. Supposedly the NFL is going to play two anthems, the Black Lives Matter anthem. And you wonder if the people who are in the power at these places understand that Black Lives Matter, the saying, is something we all agree with. Black Lives Matter, the organization that you're supporting, is a Marxist organization, and they're on the record as that. So let's just leave it at that. And somebody who's fighting and highlighting Marxism at all times, former presidential candidate Daniel Christmann joins us right now. D-Man, how are you? I remember the good old days a couple years back when you were running for New York City public advocate, and you were talking about how bad AOC was going to be, and you're always out there fighting for the community. What's happening on the Facebook front now? Supposedly they're moving into the old Penn Station?
You know, I got to talk about that public advocate. Two years ago, when I decided to run, there were stances that I took that confused everyone. And the first stance that I took was I was adamantly against Amazon, completely against Amazon. And they were like, damn, how could you be against the jobs? I'm like, no. I know what the smart cities are going to look like. I know that BlackRock owns Amazon pretty much. And this whole thing it's going to be a technocratic takeover. So I have to be against Amazon. And then there was another thing about housing, and I was about, just give the properties away. It's exploitation. Give the properties away. And what I was really trying to do is I was trying to grow the seed 2 years ago to say, like, listen, the communists are going to take over the property in the city. So we're better off getting the property in the people's hands first. So it's that much harder to take it away from the people. Because right now, when it's one landlord to kick out, the city kicks him out and the city just takes over the building and collects the rent. And it's a very scary thing we're dealing with.
Yeah, no, I remember you were against it. I think it kind of washed out worst as possible. But, what Amazon is doing is they are running a systemic plan to colonize America with these smart cities. And they're basically putting their roots down places. And as part of the examination where everybody, hey, we want to be an Amazon center, they have to give them their roadmaps, their traffic plans, their DOT plans, their highway plans, their 5G plans. Amazon basically takes all of the information about the entire city, census data, voting data, population data, age data, health data, all this stuff. And they basically, and they're buying America, if you ask me. So I'm with you. As much as we lost some jobs there, Amazon is this scary growing hydra that I think needs to be beheaded, personally.
Yeah, they're run by, again, BlackRock, Fidelity, these huge organizations that also own Facebook and anything they're trying to compete with them. And they're just trying to get every single corner of the market. And what's most interesting about the Amazon deal and the Facebook deal are their locations. The Amazon deal, the thing that was scaring me is you have East Side Access, the new train lines that are going to go from the LIR into Grand Central. And that's actually going to become the new Penn Station. And Facebook all of a sudden goes into the old Penn Station that has plenty of rail services, and they're about to take over underground sanitation, underground transportation. They're about to take over the whole entire city from the underground.
Yeah.
And then the reason why Google and Facebook are all on the west side is because we have the transatlantic cables that come into New York City. And I really think that it's time that we start to attack big tech. We have to start taxing the data that's being sent out on these transatlantic cables because they have everything.
That sounds pretty scary to me. What's even more scary is what these Democrats are trying to pull off here. I know you've been raging about these newfangled housing plans, and you think that we're moving towards Marxist housing.
Yeah, I think what the city is trying to do is smoke all the landlords out of their hole. And while they're doing it, they're going to subsidize our rents, and all that money that's left is going to go straight into mortgage debt. And then the same guys that are taking over the city with Facebook and Amazon, the BlackRocks and the big bankers of the world, are going to get all the money. And then where they're updating this whole city with trains, they're putting new train stations in Cypress Hills, a train that's going to go to LaGuardia Airport from Mott Haven in the Bronx. They're going crazy, and they're rezoning it, and they're building these towers, and then they're going to call them affordable housing towers, where based on your income qualified, and they're going to redo the whole entire city, and nobody's going to have any ownership along the way.
So Facebook, Google, Amazon, they'll all come along and scoop up all these properties and foreclosure sales and pick them up and colonize areas right around the trains and build housing centers. They'll get all kinds of rebates from the government because they'll call them affordable housing, and then offer a whole bunch of jobs in those areas, and then they basically, without knowing it, enslave the people into basically controlling their whole life.
Yeah, I think it's going to go slightly differently. I think
Okay.
you're on the right track, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to do the UBI by taxing Facebook and Amazon and these big tech companies. And then that's what's going to pay for our UBI and the affordable housing that we need, just like their rhetoric is. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow these big conglomerates to come in, and then basically our survival, our basic income, our healthcare is going to depend on these giant conglomerates' success. So then they're just going to have the whole entire market, and then the city is going to make money off of the housing. They're never going to let Facebook or Google own it. They're not going to do that.
Understood, but the jobs will go to low-income people, and it'll be all kind of part of their universal basic income, so that they just make us more of a herd of sheeple.
Yeah, humanity is lost at this point. Like, we really are deep behind enemy lines, and it's time for us to quit fancy pantsing around. Like, seriously, take your mask off, get out there, and get your city back. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't get this whole mask thing, but AOC now coming out with her new plan that she wants to cancel rent for everyone in New York City. Not suspend it, defer it, cancel it.
Yeah, checkmate. This is exactly what they're doing. They're going to cancel rent, and they're going to milk whatever is left of the economy to pay for landlords' mortgages. All that money is going to go deep into their pockets. Everyone's going to cut bait on their properties. They'll probably give them tax write-offs, and the city's going to take over everything for the Green New Deal. And people think that this is all, this is happening, and we need to start taking action on it fast, because we need to get the ownership in the people's hands that we've been exploiting for the last 50 years, where the money's been going straight to the elite, and we need to give them deeds so when everything gets restructured, they have ownership, and they could either say no or be bought out and be bought out properly. Right now, they're going to be sold up the stream again, and it's just horrible.
Yeah, it's getting scarier by the minute here. They're defunding the police. We have the Attorney General of New York State wants to rip out the #1 advocate for gun owners in America. You got the District Attorney of New York City. He fails to bring cases against people who are big donors of him, like Epstein and Weinstein, and Dr. Haddon, this Columbia professor who was alleged to have raped or sexually assaulted like 20 people, but he was a big donor to Vance. And it seems like all of our authority is going the way of the wind these days.
Well, I mean, primarily the reason why I started running for public office in the first place is because I got screwed out of getting my plumbing license, and I went to Tish James for some help, and she said she would help me if I gave her $2,500 for her Attorney General campaign. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting. Nobody cared then. And then a couple months ago in November, when Cuomo said that basically he could have political prisoners in New York State because the Constitution or a presidential pardon wouldn't apply, nobody cared. Nobody cared. I mean, Tish James is an absolute criminal. And with what happened with Epstein, how come Cuomo and Tish James have never been negatively implicated in what happened in their state?
It's beyond bizarre to me, and I talked about it a little earlier in the segment today, but, on the higher levels with these, like, Illuminati folks, there's this thing that you gain more power by hiding in plain sight. Like, you heighten your role in the community if you're willing to do things right in plain sight. And it sure seems to me like Tish James is hiding in plain sight by saying, no, this isn't politically motivated. We just want to go after NRA. It's all one big fabricated move, if you ask me.
And it's so routine. It's so textbook. They run, ring white 24 trap was the play we ran in football. It worked every time. You know what they're doing. It's so obvious. Anytime, like the Green New Deal, the impact that is going to have on the environment with the technology that's attached to it and the computer data server centers is the toxic chemicals. It's absolutely astounding. So they come in with this.
I'm sorry, we got to leave it there, brother. We're running out of time.
Sorry.
We got to have you back soon. That's Dan Christmann, community activist, former candidate for New York City Public Advocate.
I'm running against Julia Salazar.
New York State Senate candidate, Dan Christmann.
Yeah.
We'll be back right after this.